Clemency granted for a former OU student convicted of murder. We will tell you what happens next for Julius Jones. And a scary Halloween weekend on the railroad tracks here in Norman. Find out what happened. Plus, cooler weather is here, and rain may not be far behind. Here when it might start. This is OU Nightly.
Good, but we still got more steps to go. But I just thank God, and I thank the people of Oklahoma, and I thank God and bless the parole board.
Words of relief from the mother of a man some say is innocent, but who still sits on death row. Thanks for joining us for OU Nightly. I'm Ben Thomas.
And I'm Libby Dean. We begin tonight with clemency granted to convicted murderer Julius Jones. He's been in prison on death row for 22 years, convicted of killing an Edmond man. But his supporters have claimed that his conviction was wrong, that not all evidence was allowed in the trial, and recently big-name athletes and Hollywood stars have taken up his cause. This morning, the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board heard his case. OU Nightly's Kayla Davis joins us live from Oklahoma City with what happened. Kayla?
Libby, Ben, it's hard to describe the tension and raw emotions felt at today's clemency hearing for Julius Jones. The Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board recommended life in prison with possibility of parole. The vote was 3-1. For the first time in over 20 years, the public hears from Julius Jones in person.
I want to be clear about two things. First, I feel for the Howe family and for the tragic loss of Mr. Paul Howe, who I've heard was a caring and all-around good person and father. Second, I am not the person responsible for taking Mr. Howe's life.
Two families gathered at the clemency hearing: the Howes, family of Paul Howe, murdered in the summer of 1998, and the Jones family. Both families seeking justice for their loved ones.
A distortion of the truth. I used to be prideful of my last name, and now it terrifies me because in the public's eye, we are the criminals. Yet Paul Howe and my entire family are the victims here.
Both knowing that the Pardon and Parole Board only makes a recommendation. It is the governor who makes the decision.
I first want to thank God. I want to thank God because he showed me this day. It's not over, but he showed me this day. So I want to make sure I thank God for everything that is happening and being possible right now. I want to thank the Pardon and Parole Board for continuing to see the human in Julius and seeing that there was a grave mistake made and that it should be fixed.
The next step is for the governor to make an announcement on if he will approve the recommendation. There's no timeline for that decision right now, but what we do know is Julius Jones' execution date is set for November 18th. Reporting live from Oklahoma City, Kayla Davis, OU Nightly.
And just across the street from the Pardon and Parole Board, dozens of supporters of Julius Jones gathered to pray while the meeting was held. OU Nightly's Shannon Ehrhardt witnessed the reactions from the group as it was announced Jones was granted clemency from the board. She continues our team coverage. Shannon.
There was a lot of excitement just across the street earlier today. As Kayla had just mentioned, Julius Jones was granted clemency after a long-awaited 22 years. Now supporters are very excited as they have waited a long time for this day to come. One of those is making a phone call.
Ecstatic! Over the full moon. It feels absolutely great knowing that the commutation board has been consistent, that the narrative has been consistent, and to hear him speak, to really hear him talk, and you know the absolute best thing is he stick to the facts.
Julius Jones! Julius Jones!
The result of the Julius Jones clemency hearing left the supporters of Jones overcome with emotion.
We definitely want to make sure we keep the Howell family in our prayers. It's going to be a rough day for them, so continue to pray for them. We love you all. I thank you all. Make it.
Julius Jones was one of the very first people on death row I ever heard of. So it's kind of like a big moment, not just for the movement, but for me, that I'm here right now, and I just knew I had to be here because this is going to be monumental what happens today, and it was.
The vote from the board gives these supporters a glimpse of a hopeful future.
To see just how this has grown, to see the intention, to see the family that has built from Julius is fantastic and amazing. So it's only going to go up from here, in my opinion.
Making a wrong right, and that's what we're here to do today, is to help in any way we can to make what happened 22 years ago. A horrible crime happened. The wrong man has been paying for that crime, and so we're here today hoping that that justice will prevail.
The supporters of Julius Jones are holding a freedom vigil later tonight at 6 p.m. in celebration of the clemency. Reporting live in OKC, Shannon Ehrhardt, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Shannon. Celebrities across the country are taking to social media to show their support for Julius Jones. OU Nightly's Dana Searles joins us in the newsroom with what people are saying. Dana?
The Justice for Julius movement is gaining attention from notable people on social media. The #1 New York Times bestselling author Michael Todd showed his support through an Instagram reel in a sweatshirt saying, "Julius Jones deserves to live." Actress Cree Chiquino is also supporting the movement by posting information on the case on her Instagram and offering ways to take action. Jones's case has also gained attention from Oklahoma football player Jeremiah Hall. Hall has been advocating for Jones throughout the entire case. Today, he showed his support through his Instagram story. Dozens of members of the media, as well as supporters of the Howell family and for Julius Jones, were also on social media all morning. We can expect a similar reaction when the governor announces his decision. In the newsroom, Dana Searles, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Dana. As soon as there's an announcement from the governor, we'll bring it to you.
Now let's get a first look at our forecast. Juliana Mejia joins us now. And Juliana, it's feeling chilly out there.
It's been, kind of a textbook start to November in a sense, but it has been a few degrees cooler than our normal for this time of year, and we're definitely feeling it today. The cloud cover out there not letting us warm up too much, and going into the next couple of days, we're going to see some chances for some rain, and then really cooling off come Wednesday, sticking to the 40s, but then we start to warm up ahead of the weekend. We'll have all the details on how long we're going to stay cold and before we warm up again in the full forecast.
Thanks, Juliana. One major airline canceled hundreds of flights over the weekend, saying it's due to bad weather and a staff shortage. Catherine Liberta has that story and the rest of today's headlines from around the world.
Thanks, Libbey. Leaders from around the world are gathering in Scotland to discuss the growing climate crisis. The COP26 conference is held annually and brings together parties from all sides of the issue. President Biden, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison were among many leaders to speak today. Brazil presented a plan which aims to end illegal deforestation by 2028. Chinese and Russian leaders are not in attendance. A 22-story building in Nigeria's largest city, Lagos, collapsed earlier today. 3 people have been rescued from the debris, but there is no estimate yet on the number of people missing. The building is a construction site for luxury apartments. Many local residents were digging through the rubble on their own hours after the collapse because first responders had not arrived. The cause of the collapse is still being investigated, and officials are checking surrounding structures for possible damage. And American Airlines has canceled another 250 flights today after citing staff shortages and bad weather, throwing off crew schedules. Over the last 4 days, 10% of the airline's flights have been canceled. Tens of thousands of passengers have been stranded, and airline unions are concerned about the upcoming surge in holiday travel if cancellations continue. 3 weeks ago, Southwest canceled more than 2,000 flights and cost the company $75 million. American says help is on the way, with almost 2,000 flight attendants returning to work. And Libyan Bend Senator Joe Manchin says he won't support the $1.7 trillion social safety net extension bill until there is greater clarity about the impact it will have on national debt. That's it from the News Center. Back to you.
Elon Musk is willing to spend billions of dollars to aid world hunger. This generous offer comes after the UN World Food Program director called out Musk on Twitter. The holidays are always expensive, but this season could get pricier than ever. Roddy tells us why, and money matters.
Elon Musk has offered to sell some of Tesla's stock if the UN can prove that $6 billion would solve world hunger. This comes after the UN World Food Program Director David Beasley called out Musk in an interview. Beasley stated that $6 billion would equate to only 2% of Musk's net worth, and Musk responded on Twitter asking for proof. Director Beasley replied to the tweet, assuring the billionaire that although the money wouldn't end world hunger, it could save 42 million people. And with inflation being at a decade-long high, this holiday season will be among the most expensive ever. As the Delta wave recedes, more consumers are spending money despite prices being higher. Retail sales in November and December are expected to grow between 8.5% and 10.5% compared to last year. However, businesses are hopeful that due to the supply chain issues, consumers won't mind spending extra to get their gifts, food, and decorations in stores. And after Peloton shares fell 40%, the company is now offering meditation classes on Delta airline flights and hopes to save their stocks. That's all for me. Back to you.
Thanks, Bella. A frightening scene in Norman over the Halloween weekend. Coming up, we'll tell you what happened along the train tracks near Duffy Street and how emergency crews say it could have been prevented.
And what are the chances we get some rain in Norman tonight, Juliana?
We're looking at some in southern Oklahoma, some chances for showers, and then leading into Wednesday, it's going to last us. Well, welcome back to OU Nightly. We've had a rather gloomy start to November. Lots of clouds out there right now, definitely overshadowing the skyline. Just some blue peeking in here and there at about 54 degrees right now. So we are several degrees cooler than our normal for the start of November. But however, it has just been pretty much a comfortable, for the most part, fall day. Winds are relatively easy at only about 10 miles per hour. It's dry and comfortable out there. And absolutely, we have not seen the worst of the start of November, as some areas like Kansas City have seen snow today. But we're talking about some rain chances going into tonight. We're really going to see rain more so down towards the southern portion of the state, and then that's going to increase really widespread showers across the state tomorrow, hanging on into Wednesday, and then drying off ahead of the weekend. Now, showing that, you can see, again, talking about tomorrow, this creeps in here, and looking at another model, you can see it's very widespread showers, chances for some thunderstorms more so in the southern half of the state, and then again really holding out until pretty much early Wednesday, and then it clears out for the most part, again just drying up ahead of the weekend, fortunately. So lows tonight are a bit chilly. We're looking at even the 30s, pushing towards the Panhandle, warmer down towards the south and east portion of the state, looking at about 47 for Ida, about 40 here in central Oklahoma. Highs tomorrow, that map not looking too different, hanging on to the 40s for the highs up in the Panhandle, pushing well into the 50s. Again, warmest down in Idabel at about 58, looking at about 50 tomorrow. Now, things to look forward to if you have a chance to get away from the city lights. With the new moon, we're going to have definitely decent conditions to be viewing the Taurids meteor shower, and that definitely peaks on November 4th, the evening of, just shortly after midnight. Something you could look forward to if we do definitely plan on clearing up and having decently clear skies that overnight. So again, rain chances really dry up Thursday, and then we warm up into the weekend just in time for that daylight savings to fall back an hour.
Tense moments on the railroad tracks this weekend when someone fell into a moving train. OU Nightly's Dayton Deller was on the scene shortly after the incident and fills us in on what happened.
Flashing lights at 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning, a sign that something is terribly wrong on the tracks near Duffy Street.
The person who was hit was intoxicated and apparently fell into the train. They were not struck by the train, they fell into the moving train. They had non-life-threatening injuries.
Norman police say this is the first train incident in more than a year. In 2017, the ear-splitting train whistles went quiet after the city council passed a quiet zone ordinance for the city's 17 railroad crossings. The proposal came after requests from residents living close to the tracks saying the horn disturbs their sleep.
People can relate to feeling frustrated, especially if they're in a hurry and those arms go down and they, have to be stopped by the train.
BNSF says trains extend 4 feet out on each side, traveling at 40 miles per hour, and standing or pulling up too close can be threatening. So anyone walking close to the tracks is in danger.
It is extremely important for people to to take that extra couple of minutes and wait for the train to pass and not try to beat those crossings.
Dayton Deller, OU Nightly.
The city increased the height of median barriers and other features to better notify people and drivers of approaching trains. Officials say the best advice is to not walk along the tracks.
The Sooners were able to take down the Red Raiders on Saturday behind a dominant performance from freshman Caleb Williams. What do you think of this true freshman's play, Kenzie?
I agree, Ben. His performance was incredible. Caleb Williams made OU history this weekend. We'll talk about that. Plus, TCU's coach leaving after the break. Stay tuned because sports is next. Welcome back to OU Nightly. I'm Kenzie Iserman, and it is time for sports. This weekend's game not only leaves OU undefeated, but it was a historic win for Caleb Williams. Williams is the first true freshman in OU history to throw 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Spencer Rattler also stepped on the field and got a standing ovation from Sooner fans. Rattler completed all 5 of his passes on the day for 67 yards and 1 touchdown. Here's what Lincoln Riley had to say after the game.
Fantastic team win. Just a complete performance all the way around. Offense, defense, special teams, huge contributions from everybody. I really loved the week of preparation, and I felt guys did a really good job carrying it over from practice field to the game field. Made some, I think, big improvements. Obviously, a kind of a boost there of getting several key guys back, and you combine that with a great week.
With Derrick Henry set to undergo surgery, that will put the NFL rushing leader on the shelf for possibly 6 to 10 weeks. The Tennessee Titans will add a former Sooner and future Hall of Famer running back to the backfield. Adrian Peterson has been signed by the Titans and is ready to get to work. TCU's football coach Gary Patterson mutually parted ways after 22 seasons with the Horned Frogs. Special assistant to the head coach Jerry Kill will take over for the remainder of the season. And moving over to the soccer fields, the OU women's soccer team battled number 20 Texas in the Big 12 Championship quarterfinals, but fell 5-2 Thursday to finish their season. The Sooners saw plenty of chances in the match, with freshman Bailey Wesco and senior Jazzy Richards recording game goals in the game. OU outshot Texas 16-14 on the night. And Coach Jenny and the Sooners got to have their first action of the season yesterday. Both Maddie Williams and Anna Yanusa were on fire. They both individually put up 16 points on the board. The ladies dominated in the expedition against Rogers State's 93-23. Swinging into the World Series, what could have been a memorable night for the Braves became one to remember for the Astros. The Braves came out strong with a grand slam in the first inning, but were quickly silenced by the Stros, who went on to outscore the Braves 9-5. This would have been the Braves' chance to win the 2020 World Series at home. The Astros are continuing on to play in Houston tomorrow. And lucky for you, it is Monday, and that means Sooner Sports Pad is live tonight at 7:30 on Bally Sports. Tune in for more sports coverage. Back to you.
Thanks, Kenzie.
Straight ahead on OU Nightly, it is the first day of Native American Heritage Month. Find out how you can pay tribute, and we'll be right back.
Amaya Ward at the OU Nightly Update Desk. In days to come, private businesses with 100 or more employees will be required to receive vaccines or a weekly COVID test. This comes after the Office of Management and Budget completed its regulatory review today, fulfilling an announcement President Joe Biden made in September. That's all for now. Back to you in the studio.
Today kicks off the start of Native American Heritage Month. Google's doodle on its homepage is paying tribute to Native American artist Weewa.
Weewa was revered as a cultural leader and a Zuni tribe mediator. To honor Native Americans this month, you can visit a reservation or a museum and support Native-owned businesses and charities.
Now let's check in one final time with Juliana for a last look at the weather.
Yeah, so again, just that rain that we're paying attention to going into tomorrow and hanging out until Wednesday. Really best chances is going to be widespread showers tomorrow. So I'd have an umbrella handy, maybe a raincoat. Doesn't hurt to have the extra layer, especially with those cool temperatures. But you can see going into the weekend, just ahead of the weekend, we'll start to warm up again. Beautiful conditions return as we do fall back an hour overnight into Sunday morning, returning possibly to the 70s come Monday.
Thanks for tuning into OU Nightly. We're live every weekday from Gaylord Hall on the campus of the University of Oklahoma.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night live at 4:30. Good night.